You going to go and see it? Oh, yes. 007 officially back in the cinemas with No Time to Die. After all the delays and more delays and more delays, 18 months, in fact, of delays. But is Daniel Craig's last outing any good? Could it be his best? Film critic James Luxford joins me now. James, morning.
Good morning.
Could this be, in your opinion, Daniel Craig's best Bond movie yet?
I think it's certainly the one that takes the most risks. Now, this is going to be a nightmare for people like me who have to tell you about a movie because it is full of surprises. And mentioning any of those surprises would spoil it for the many, many, many people who have already bought their tickets and things like that. But what I will say is it tries things that I don't think any Bond movie has tried before. And, 2 hours, 45 minutes, it has plenty to pack in, all of the action you'd expect, all the glamorous locations, and also a few things you wouldn't.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, I know you don't mince your words, so that sounds really, really good. But actually, there is a bit of a formula to a James Bond movie, let's face it. I mean, we've got car chases, we've got humour, we've got, love interest, all of those things. So we can always count on, those ingredients to be, ploughed into a good Bond film, can't we? And I guess No Time to Die has all of those and more.
It does, yes. I think it has probably the first, it's a first for the Bond series in that, in the past, a Bond movie would be self-contained. We'd meet Bond at a particular point in his life. He'd meet the Bond girl, fight the villain, and by the end of it, everything will have been resolved and we start again with the next film. With Daniel Craig's movies, there's been a continuing thread. There's, acknowledgement of the events of Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace and Skyfall. And this is the first, I think, Bond film, and certainly first final Bond film, that has to tie together so many things from different past movies. That kind of continuous arc that I think is interesting. But as you said, there is a formula, and it's a formula that works. So expect lots of very elaborate bike and car chases all these glamorous locations, and of course the one-liners as well.
Yeah, I look forward to those. But also within that formula is a good baddie as well. And actually, Rami Malek plays the baddie in this Bond film. Actually, we knew Rami Malek from playing Freddie Mercury, didn't we, in Bohemian Rhapsody? And in fact, won an Oscar for that role.
And I think it's a continuation and a sign, I think, of where Daniel Craig has elevated the series. Because the last three villains, Javier Bardem, Christoph Waltz, and of course now Rami Malek, all Oscar winners. They're all people who won their Oscar and went to the Bond franchise. That's the caliber of actor you're attracting. And here, again, it's difficult to talk about him too much without giving anything away, but I feel he is a classic Bond villain. Every time he appears on screen, there is a very, a kind of a shiver up your spine, and he's involved from the very beginning, and I think cuts quite a scary figure, more so than previous villains.
James, you're doing so well. You're giving very, very little away, but you're actually still getting us excited. What about gadgets?
Lots of gadgets. Of course, it's become a little more difficult in modern times because the kind of gadgets that Sean Connery's audience would have found fantastic are probably less advanced than the phone you have in your pocket. So it's become difficult to wow audiences in the same way. They still find a way. I think there's one scene with a car you may remember from Skyfall, which is very entertaining, and I think that's just part of it, isn't it? The watches, the cars with things that come out of them, and all kinds of wonderful gadgets that make Bond what it is.
It's a very long film, isn't it? 2 hours 43. I mean, I get a little bit fidgety in the cinema. So am I going to be gripped for that entire time?
I think so. I think there's enough there to keep you going. I probably shouldn't mention this, but I went to the screening on Tuesday, and press screenings, there's a few drinks beforehand, and there's a prelude. There's, like with every Bond movie, there's a prelude to to the title sequence. It's about 20 minutes, and then those drinks really settled in on the audience, who then realised that the title sequence is about 4 minutes. It's an entire song. So poor Billie Eilish was treated as a bathroom break by our audience, who all decided this is 2 hours 45 minutes. I better get my trip to the facilities in right away.
Well, that is a shame, because actually part of any good Bond movie is a good theme tune, and it is a good theme tune by Billie Eilish, isn't it? But actually, you mentioned the press screening. You were able to take someone special with you, weren't you?
I was able to take my dad, and it's he's a huge Bond fan, and it's something I've been doing this for about 15 years, writing about movies, and I've just never really been able to get a +1, get a guest for him to the previous movies. Quantum of Solace was a little too popular. I couldn't get in on the screening, and Skyfall and Spectre, they were screenings during the day, so his work didn't allow. This was the first time it lined up, and I think he was very pleased. They treated him very well. There was red carpet along the way. It was a screening being held in parallel with the premiere across in London, and I think it was a wonderful way to do that with him. And I'd like with a lot of people, I watch Bond movies with my dad and my parents since I was a kid, and to be able to show that to him and was really special. And I just we got in our seats in the big IMAX in London, and I just sort of saw my dad's eyes sort of widen, I think, and he sort of turned and said, "Are we really watching it here?" And I said, "It's seeing your job from the eyes of someone who doesn't do it every week makes you appreciate it a bit more." And it was a lovely thing to do.
Yeah, it's fantastic, actually. And when you can share it with somebody special. Some of my strongest memories, actually, as a child, going with my parents to the cinema to see the Bond movies. In fact, pretty much the only movies we went to see, apart from E.T., that was another one we went to see. But actually, out of 10, James, what would you give No Time to Die?
Oh, goodness. I think I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Ooh,
because
strong stuff.
I think they make a couple of choices, and, this is going to make sense to everyone in about a week when we've all seen it. It's going to divide people. I think there's going to be choices that people are a little bit, that maybe don't work with certain people. I always say a Bond film is like a Glastonbury headliner. Everyone's got their own idea of what it should be, whether you grew up on Roger Moore, whether you grew up on Sean Connery or Pierce Brosnan. You've got your own idea of what makes a perfect Bond film, and I think there are some daring choices here that might not be for everyone, but everyone will definitely be talking about it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed, James Luxford. Have you seen it? Are you going to see it? No Time to Die, of course. Do get in touch.